What are your Fisher priceless moments?
There are so many precious moments, but our first dance together is hard to
Welcome along, guys. It is finally here. It's the last race of this season, and boy, are we on for a belter here this evening. We are in Zandvorrt, and you can see straight away there, looking at the pro split. Look how close it is for this championship, guys. 10 points in it coming into the last race, with Nard Cox starting there on the top position, trying to defend the championship now tonight and take the crown against Luca Filippi there in second position on 250 points. Then there's a bit of a battle then as well for third position, because Sam Spelnick as well as Regan Mitchell are fighting away. There's only 6 points between them as well for the last top 3 position there. Then we have going down further a race on for 5th position, which could be really realistically, if the top 4 don't finish, between Hakala Jr. and Bani possibly, and you can even throw in Dimitri there as well, from 103 points to 105, then 114 and 118. There's nothing between them. And then best of the rest, then we've got Nelson and Bernoza there on 71 points, but literally crawling at his heels is Alex Crawford, 3 points behind on 68 points. Then we have about 11 points of a gap then to Peter Vanier in 12th position, with Nikolai Schroeder in 13th on 54, only 3 points behind. So it gets very, very close here as well. Then we have Van der Kraan in the McLaren on 46 points. 1 point behind him, though, is Simon Wilkes, and 2 points at his heels is Andrew Richardson on 43 points in 17th position. Then we have Dan Lenson on 39 points, and at Dan Lenson's heels is Ryan Walker. Then we have just behind Ryan Walker, we have Vincent Wiljek on 24 points, who's trying to defend, and probably more for pride than anything else. You don't want to be last in the championship by the end, so these guys will be fighting a tooth and nail with Adam Islovic as well on 20 points. There's 4 points between them, so that's going to be very, very interesting this evening, guys. Now we're going to jump on, if we can, onto the silver championship. I'm going to run through the run order here. So this is very, very, very juicy as well. In first position in the silver championship, we have Midima on 206 points. Now, technically, Marius is still in with a chance this evening. He's 18 points behind. He needs just a Medina to actually not score points tonight to seal the deal by about 2 points or so. So there can be a battle on. Now, it might be a hard-fought battle, and realistically, looking at the results there so far, it's anyone's guess who's going to get this. But then we've got Tim Marius in second, and Patrick Tractor is in third position. Now, Patrick Tractor has third position sealed in the bag. He doesn't need to worry. Dennis Pope then is going to be fighting for his fourth position, as we have the hard man Adam Lough in his Bentley on 131 points, joined with Callum Morgan also on 131 points. So 4th, 5th and 6th is truly not over. So that battle tonight, we will keep an eye on that. As we know, there's different splits running in GT3 races, so even though the race leader might be out and doing their thing, there's lots of genuine battles for championships here this evening, guys. Then we have in 6th position Ike Twos on 106 points, looking to try and keep that from Thomas Van Schack in 105 points. He's on there. So there again, guys, you're going to see it the whole way through tonight. It's just people are going to be fighting hand, tooth and nail to try and hold on to their position. And hello to Mike Ambernoza in the chat on YouTube, by the way. Then we have a fight again for Mick Shellikins, I'm going to ruin everyone's name, so apologies, and Mick Bealey. So 94 points for Mick and 92 for Nick. So 2 points in it there from 9th to 10th place. By no means is that over. Then Nafas is on 91 points, but unfortunately I don't think he'll be racing tonight, so he will seal out 11th spot. Then we have in 12th position fighting is Palanas versus Van der Linden. There's only 4 points between them. Then we have Dennis Workman and then Sander Vale fighting as well for 14th to 15th position. 4 points splitting them as well on 68 and 64 points. Then we have Wouter Biljba, I'm going to say, on 57 points. Then in 17th position we have Shojek Vervat on 48 points. Then joint 40 points we have Pascal Weida and Frank Hopp. Frank Hopp, by showing up tonight, should surely possibly get a point or two to jump them. Then we have in 20 positions Steve Parker, who's only 12 points off these guys, so can try their best to try and get up there. And Tim Nagebar as well is on 30 points. That's a name I do recognise from a previous league, so I'm going to give it rooting for him to try and get off the last position and get himself up into 20th position. And then we jump across to arms guys really quick. We have Wouter Vrins in first position on 285 points. He can start sipping the champagne now, as that championship is definitely sealed. Second position though is not sealed. We have Van der Linden on 250 points. That's Arjan van der Linden, in case we get confused with the other. Then we have Marcus Fredriksson in third position in the Porsche on 245. So there's a genuine fight for second and third here at the minute, and they could flip either way. 5 points splitting them guys. Then in fourth position we've got Cohen Geens on 188 points. He's definitely sealed fourth position. Good for him. Then in fifth position we've got Peter Bockland on 143 points, but he is in no way at all sealed for fifth position, as John Haig is only 3 points behind him. So that's another great battle to be watching. Then we have in seventh position Sam Pearce on 115 points. There's still 8 points between him and Patrick Clean, so there still is a lot to play for there from them guys. And even Simon Barla has a chance to try and get off the last spot as well. So this is going to be absolutely epic racing, and I wouldn't expect anything less from SSRI. It's a very well established league. You've got top class racers, top class organisation. They're probably one of the best broadcasts we've seen. We have, of course, tonight Tom Van Meer in the box, and we'd also see Chris Hill in there. And I'm glad to see I'm joined now by Oliver Anderson. How are you getting on?
Well, I'm fine, as we are live from qualifying all of a sudden.
Absolutely, we're after flying through that and we're straight into it. So what would you expect here? A wet Zandvorrt with so much to fight for these guys out there. There's pride for people who are down in last position, and there still is the top three in the championships. Are we expecting fireworks?
Well, fireworks is a kind word for what we're expecting tonight. These conditions normally bring up some bad driving around the track. Some collisions will probably be seen. It's a tough track to overtake on, so many people might be willing to take that extra risk to get those extra points tonight.
There's the last race of the season. You got to send it all this evening. If you're going to try and make the position up, this is your last chance.
Yeah, definitely, as we see Nart Cox being quite far down the grid at the minute with 5 minutes left in qualifying as we round the final corner following Nart Cox at the minute.
Yeah, it's a lovely looking livery. I think he's going to do all right, though. You know, to be honest with you, this is the kind of track you don't really need to start on pole here. You can kind of let the other guys make mistakes, especially if it's going to be wet in the race. Because, look, you know yourself, Zandvorrt in the dry is tough enough for the best part around the end of sector 1 into sector 2. In the wet, it's going to be treacherous. We will see people just going off, just unfortunately, especially the first few laps trying to get temperatures into the tyre.
Yeah, we sure will. But also the top guys in this league, they will know what to do. They will be racing as hard as usual. They will be getting through turn 1 probably. No guarantees, of course, but further down the field, carnage will likely happen on this track. As you said, it's hard enough to race here in dry conditions when the track is optimum. But doing it in these almost flooded wet conditions, it's gonna be a tough one for the drivers out there tonight.
Oh, 100%. It's tough enough as it is, but especially because they're fighting in the last race of the season for those positions, you have extra pressure on your back as well. You need to perform. It's now or never, especially for the guys who want to get off the back of the grid and not be the person who is at the back. So it's going to be, it's going to be epic, and I'm delighted that you're here this evening with myself to bring in the last race of this. It's been obviously a great season with, as you say, top tier drivers, as well as drivers coming in that may be new, as well as some that are kind of casual drivers as well, which is great about SSRI. It caters for literally every kind of sim racer.
It does, it sure does, and the way the splits have been made this season with the pros and the amps and the silvers makes for some great championships throughout the season. We have seen the championship fights for some of the classes, we have seen the fights for the secondary positions. We have seen a lot of great action throughout the field and some tactical driving over the season. Maybe some people don't want to fight the people too hard in the different championship because they know it could end up hurting themselves later on, but that overall position is also something to take notice of. with these drivers. Even though that you're an AM driver, you still get that extra pride of beating the guys in the higher championships. Or higher tiers of the
100%.
championship.
100%. I tell you one thing, if I was sitting there in the bottom split, I'd still be trying my best to beat someone in the pros. Even if you can beat one or two of them, that'll feel like a win.
But if I was sitting there in one of the lower cars, I probably wouldn't be looking at what class the other drivers were in. I would still be racing them as hard as always.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, that's the thing about it. I think ego in sim racing, anyone who's sim raced for long enough, you know to leave it at the door, because on track you can be humbled so easily.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You will always send it. If there's a gap, you will send it. Especially on this track, and you just pray for the guys ahead seeing you coming, and that they won't shut the door on you.
Look, it has to be done, and especially in the wet here as well, there is an awful lot more chances, because you can take about 2 or 3 different lines through the corners here now and try and find grips. So I'm going to be very interested to see the differences though between the class levels, to see who actually goes for what line and see which one is actually most effective here, because sometimes it's actually good to get off the racing line around some of these corners here.
Well, that will also depend on what type of car you're running. If you have the engine in the back like the Porsche, if you have a mid-engine car, or you have the front-engine cars in these conditions, that will also have a very large effect on the lines you're going to take.
Very true. If anyone's driving the Honda, RIP to them.
There are a few Hondas in the field I can see, so they're gonna have a fun time. One of them's having P3 at the minute.
They'll be
Not
smiling,
out of
that's one
track.
thing.
It is a fast car. If you can control it, it is probably very fast in the wets. But if you're just an ordinary fast guy, it's not gonna be fun.
It's scary. Although I did see people were giving out about the Honda now being nerfed, but like I've a lad that I know in Kota done a 205.6, which is just stupid.
Oh, it is, but that's the thing with the Honda. It always gets BOP'd. It goes from being the best car on the grid to being very, very bad, to being the best car on the grid again, very, very bad. We see that a few times every year. At least a few times over the last few years, we've seen it drop and fall in pace.
And here's a question for you. What do you reckon next season? How many people are going to use the 992 and the new Ferrari, as well as even the new Lambo? Not possibly as much, but then again, you can kind of mess around with the power a little bit now with the settings.
Well, maybe. I reckon that about 50% of the grid will be using those cars because they're so new. But they'll have a large summer break to get over it, so we probably will still see a lot of guys keeping to the Aston Martin, the very safe choice. Oh, there's some Spenkling parked on the side of the road. Lane qualifying, not so good for him. But a lot of people will be using them. I think if I'm going racing next season, I might even go for one of those cars myself, if I'm not bringing back the Lexus of old. Maybe even the Lexus could be a choice.
The Lexus is it's a very fun choice because not many people drive it. Same with the Skyline as well. For me though, all day long, the Aston Martin. I'm still learning the game, so I love it.
Then you should try the Lexus. Probably the best car for a beginner. Very fast in a straight line.
I'm used to it now. But no, do you know what? I'm really looking forward to seeing though the difference, because I've seen it in other races so far, in external races. You know, even with the newer cars, they're not necessarily winning the races. You know, I don't think the 1.9 update has been that dramatic that other cars are not competitive, because I've seen an awful lot of other cars jumping ahead.
Yeah, but I think the main thing about at least the Porsche is always difficult to drive with how the balance changes in the car. So if you're not used to that, then it's not a car that you can just jump into and drive. And then we have the Ferrari that's very endurance focused in the way it uses fuel and how it goes. The Lambo I will not say anything about. I will probably never drive that car. So
a fun tip for you though here: the top 10 are split in less than a second. Isn't that unbelievable? Especially in the rain.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy, but it is also a short track.
Well, it is, but still, that's unbelievable to be doing. So, like, it's a 142.475 pole position from Mr. Wilczek, and Cox is in second and Marius in third. So, this is going to be absolutely, it's going to be lightning to this first corner, because there was less than half a tenth, I think it was, between first and second as well. So, it's just, yeah, it's going to be epically close.
Well, that's just how close it normally is here at SSRI in the top of the field. Not much between the fastest guys. And not much between. Well, the entire field, it seems like at least the top 10 this
And look
time
at that
around.
as well, Marius in the silver up there.
Yeah, in the Honda. That's going to be interesting to see what he can do.
That's absolutely brilliant to see that. He obviously has the pace. He'll be in pros next season.
Oh, he will. But will you do the qualifying rundown for us?
Yes. So I'm going to ruin a few names as I do this. So in pole position, we've got Will Sheck, and in second position, we've got Cox. Third position is Marius. Fourth position is Spenklink. Fifth position is Bani. Sixth position is, right, I'm not going to say that one, the Kunit. Something like that.
Close enough.
Then we have in seventh position the junior, eighth position Mitchell, ninth position Richardson, 10th position Lenson, 11th position Schroeder, 12th position Medema, 13th position Workman, 14th position Schmelikens or something like that. Don't know it. I'll say you know better than me. And then I actually have lost the names now, so there we go, guys. I don't have the names up.
No, but that's the interesting part of the field where people will be going free wide into turn 1. Interesting to see who will do what, as we get a good look on all these beautiful, beautiful liveries that are running this season in SSRI.
100%. And my boy Adam Locke there in his Bentley, I love that dude, and I'm wishing him the very best day in his race. I do love that livery.
Oh, well, he's in a boat, so he'll do fine tonight. Seems like the perfect car for the conditions, as we have the McLaren-inspired Aston coming up as well. One of my personal favorites, alongside with the SSRI Classic, the Wild Things Racing machine of Denise Pope.
Oh yeah, that's Amber Nosa there, yeah, on the left. I know them guys very well. Nelson's great. Yeah, that SSRI livery on the right as well, is it? That's beautiful.
I actually don't know if it's just generic. I didn't pay much attention to the screen.
I'm looking there now. I love that Lexus there as well. Obviously, you would like that as well. The Tic Tac livery as well is beautiful. I have to say, the creativity of a lot of guys here is just phenomenal. And the colour schemes as well. Some interesting ones and some beautiful ones.
Well, I would say they're all beautiful in their own way.
Unique, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
well, we have the BMW McLaren up here. Oh, well.
Oh, no, that's not here again, is it?
Yeah, but isn't that also sort of the paint scheme they ran with the McLaren F1 back in the days?
It was, actually, yeah, to be correct.
Yeah.
That skyline looks absolutely crazy.
Oh, it does, it does. I think that is Alex Crawford driving that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Lovely livery, Alex.
Good job, Alex, good job.
And that's a very German livery on the right.
No, I think it's Belgium. Oh, no, not this one again.
Belgium.
Eyes away from the Porsche, eyes away from the Porsche.
Oh my god, the Ferrari Porsche is still in existence.
The Porsche Ferrari always lives.
Oh my god. That goes fast though. Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Classic racing livery.
I'm so sick that McLaren never used it in 2021. Remember when they released it for it was Monaco.
Monaco, yes. Oh, all the hype that went up with that.
Oh, don't talk to me, McLaren fan. I've been suffering for years now. They've been paying for my all my bills going in to talk to my counsellor about them. They've ruined my life.
No worries, you'll keep suffering for a lot more years to come.
You know, it was starting to look bright in 2020, 2021. I was thinking, do you know what? Possibly, it could be good now, but nah.
Yeah,
humbled straight away.
It's our year. Next season is our year.
I'm sick of hearing it. Oh, I like the back of that livery there, the bit of sticker bomb.
Oh yeah, that's nice. That must be the Vard, I think, running the 73 machinery, if I'm not too mistaken. I think I crashed him at Brands Hatch.
Oh really?
Seems about right.
A little tap.
No, a big tap, I think.
And just a shout out to Mark Nucleans there, saying good luck to all. So nice to see people coming in and supporting the SSRI stream and the drivers as well as we start the formation lap here now. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to ask you what's your top 3 prediction. See how right or wrong we are by the end.
I don't even know who's racing, but I would assume that I was about to say that I would assume that Wilson would stay up there, but he is known to be a quite aggressive driver. But the two Dark Sky cars of Nard Cox and some Spenkelink are likely going to end up, if not top 3, then top 5 with both of them if they don't crash out. But that's the thing you don't know about. Who's going to make the crashes? Who's going to have the issues around this one? But if I have to guess before the race start, then the 2 Dark Sky racing cars and the Vincent will check. I know it's a bit of a boring choices, but those will be my guys for this one.
Okay, that's fair. No, that's very fair. Very fair. I'm going to give Cox a little bit of rep, and I'm going to say he's going to finish second. I'm going to give him a bit of support. I'm going to pick. I'm just going to be random. I'm going to pick, say, Luck for third place for the crack, and I think the pole position is going to win the race as well. Start to finish, lead it and win. That's a bold.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a bolder claim. No incidents in turn 1.
No incidents in turn 1. I'll hold you up to that one.
I have faith in these guys.
Well, you could take the pardon or half ownership of the pizza Chris owes me if you're right.
No bother.
Although he haven't delivered it yet, and it's like 2 years ago now, so it might be a little bit.
Mike Amber knows after saying on YouTube he predicts carnage.
I can get along with that one. At least some carnage further down the field. Someone will miss their braking points in this one, no doubt.
I have absolute faith in all these drivers. See that, lads? Have faith in you. Don't let me down.
As we are now probably starting to see the cars line up for the start, as we only have 2 turns left for the leaders, as they are side by side now, with a little bit of driving through each other as we can in ACC. I still remember back in the days when ghosting on the formation lap wasn't a thing and you would just wreck everyone.
No, I reckon this will be it now, as they're coming around. So this is the thing, when you're at the back of the field, you really need to get lined up, because you could lose a few car lengths here by not being in the proper position. Although it's a long enough run around here.
You have plenty of time for that, trust me, I've been there.
And how would you find Zandvorrt? It's the only track that isn't laser scanned in this game.
Good track. I've actually had a P2 finish here in somewhat similar conditions as we are now on the start-finish rate with the 5 red lights. They are on, and we are about to go racing here as we are racing! Seems like a pretty decent start from the 2 BMWs up in front. The Porsche coming up outside into turn 1. Nothing's happening so far in turn 1. Both BMWs seems to get the Porsche coming out. A few cars off track as we speak. Coming out. Actually, no major incidents in turn 1.
Oh,
seems like Chris Hill now owes you half a pizza. As Nard Cox took the start away from Vincent Vilcek, even though that Porsche is famously known for being very good at the start. Now we have yellow flags. I think it's Denise Pope in the 79 Wild Things Racing who's stuck in turn 2, turn 3.
Yeah, unfortunately that's not good. That's not what you want to be seeing at the start of the race, but hopefully he can get back going. It's still a long race to go, an hour in the rain. It's not too bad.
She can. Although yeah, it was Denise Pope struggling in the start of the race, or also known as Denise Pepe. Andrew Richardson is also Richardson is off. Oh, that's a bad place. A little bit of sketchy rejoin there from Richardson, number 4. Mercedes, the Green Moose racing car, also one of the better drivers, a guy who could have had an outside chance of winning, but that seems long gone now. Vincent Vilcek cannot keep up with Nard Cox, it looks like, or he maybe just have missed a single turn in this track, and that's sort of the gap that will form up after stuff like that's happening, as the 5 cars way off the track now, up in the top right corner of the track map. On board, we can't see anything coming around this track. It's so hard to see when driving in these conditions. Penultimate corner of the first lap. Vilcek still trying to keep control of that Porsche. That Porsche will be difficult later in the race, as the balance will change of the car when the fuel load goes out of it. Something people who have driven the Porsche will know and will fear. As there are some movements on the grid coming around for the first corner. Tim Marius down to 6th position, losing his position in the start. Did quite up in 5th. Oh, and we see a sideways moment there from Sam Spenkelink. Really pushing it so hard in 3rd position, trying to catch up to the 2 runaway drivers in Nard Cox, his teammate, and Vincent Vilcek. Long time since we have seen those 2 in endurance racing, though. Maybe they'll come back during the summer break. We'll have to wait and see. The 2 Dark Sky guys, they used to be really fast dominating in there as well.
Yeah, so it's Spilnick there is actually struggling really a lot now with the rear end of his car. You'd see even on the exit of the last corner onto that main straight, really struggling for traction in that BMW at the minute there. But the good thing for Cox is he's keeping it nice and smooth. But I do reckon Wilczek is just biding his time. It's still a long enough race to go, and could be just getting his eye in, and as you say, letting the tyres warm up and fuel burn down a little bit before attacking.
I just got across here. Nikolai Schröder is up on the inside of a Lamborghini here. Fellow Danish driver still keeping the inside around here. Many different lines around here. It looks like it's Dan Lensen. He's trying to move on, but inside becomes outside as they make contact. Lensen goes around Nikolai Schröder on the outside line. Lensen stuck on the track, can't do anything. They have to wait for the entire field to come by as there are 2 yellow flags on the track. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Someone ignoring the yellows a little bit, looks like. Lensen dropped all the way down to 23rd position after all that. He is lucky he got moving before that second train of cars came up to him.
Yeah, very unlucky there. Hopefully he didn't get too much damage there as we're looking at Thiele, who looks like they're after gaining a position there as well. Definitely drivers struggling, especially in the traffic like that. Look at the heavy spray there. It's going to be very hard to actually see the corner and get the apex just right.
Yeah, that's also why we see a lot of drivers moving out, even though that they're not in attacking positions. They'll move out just to have a good look on their braking markers coming into the corners. That's still yellows around. Oh, now they disappeared. Coming out the last corner, both cars dropping out on the AstroTurf, losing a little bit of grip there. Dan Lenz now on the inside of Frank Hopp into turn 1. Can he make the move and retake 1 position? Late on the brakes, he sends it to the inside. Side by side through. Remember the outside line, he is slightly banked, but he doesn't get the run out there, Frank Hopp. Dan Lensen now gained a position up into 22nd position. As we jump up top here, Dave Jr. behind Decoit. Decoit have had a decent start here, as have Dave Jr. coming up in that Lambo. That must be a very dreadful car to drive in these conditions. I would much rather be in that Aston ahead.
Oh, 100%. He has to be a lot more stable here, but at the minute, like, he's driving very well to stay that close with that amount of spray at the minute. It's actually coming down massively. I mean, know that Lambo's all, oh my god.
A lot of things happening down here. Richardson seems to be involved once again. Maybe he just took evasive action as Nelson Ebranosa is around. Nelson Ebranosa is around up in the fast right hand at the end of the, well, I wouldn't call it back straight, but the curve straight. Mike Schinkling's involved in that as well, looks like, in the 39 Honda.
Wow, that's not what you want. That's quite heavy damage as well on Nelson's car. He'll have to pit fairly quickly. He'll have to come in this lap. That's just way too heavy damage to try and continue on for a few laps, even in the wet conditions. As Spenlick here is actually starting to get in a bit closer now to Wilczek as well. So this battle now could start livening up soon. Maybe he's starting to find grips and find his pace and his momentum with that M4 after quite a tough start from having no traction on the rear.
Yeah, Snart Cox is already pulling out a 1.7 second gap as Sim Spinkling. He is definitely getting more and more comfortable with the car now. It seems he's not having all that understeer, oversteer moments as we saw earlier. It is hard to control the cars after the new update to the game. There have been a little bit of a change to the force feedback as well, and for some people that have had a massive effect on how you drive your car.
Yeah, that's very true as well. And also, I suppose the excitement of the first lap or two as well. You might have just been a little bit too eager on the throttle, you know yourself.
And here we have a replay of the incident with Nelson Ebranosa as we see a car further up going a little bit sideways. No, he didn't. Oh, there was contact further up the field and Nelson just, well, having nowhere to go there on the brakes, locking the tires.
Oh,
yeah, and then the traffic comes. Not much that anyone could do in that situation after the spin had happened. Unfortunately, he got collected there. It's probably that hit he got later on that gave him the most of his damage he's running around with.
Yeah, that's it's the second hit definitely there head on.
Live action, so Sim Spinkling is on the inside for second position and Vincent Wilczek coming down the back straight now. Hard right-hand turn at the end of this straight. Who will get the braking zones right? Sim Spinkling ahead before the braking, but Vincent comes up on the inside. Sim Spinkling on the cutback makes the move up into second position. Both Dark Sky Racing cars now in first and second position in this race. Not the best of start for Vincent Wilczek so far, as now it's Clyde Barney who will be looking to get closer to him in this race.
That's exactly the racecraft you'd expect here, though, in SSRI. That was just beautifully calculated. He knew then that Wilczek was going to run wide, trying to take the inside line, not having the right amount to turn in because you're taking it at such a tighter angle, and he knew straight away that cutback could do the job. That was beautiful driving there.
As we now here get a replay of what happened Vincent Wilczek have a decent gap here, but it looks like he just goes wide in the corner leading onto the back straight. That's so easy to do because you are slightly turning while braking there. Oh, and then out on the curb, losing a bit of traction to the grass. Sim Spenkling way ahead before the corner, but Vincent knows that if he wants to keep that position, you really have to send it and hope that Sim does something bad. But no, Sim just keeps his cool and makes a move. Beautifully executed by Sim Spenkling there. Second position for him.
Absolutely brilliant stuff there. And to be honest with you,
look at this. Look at this. Sim Spenkling can check Vincent Wilczek. Vincent is right behind him once again. This could get interesting further on in this race, or at least in the next couple of minutes or next couple of laps, maybe even corners. We can see Vincent Wilczek trying to get that second position back. It only takes a very small mistake from Sim Spenkling before Vincent is all over him once again.
Yeah,
different line in the hairpin. Now Vincent will get that draft, but he goes right. He's really trying to get that. He knows that if he's going to make the overtake, it's either turn 1 or at the end of this straight. That's the best places to do it around this track. As around the banking we go, coming on, now closing on to the penultimate corner of this wonderful track. It is not the current generation of the Zandvorrt track. If you're watching Formula 1, as most of you viewers probably are, you will notice that we are losing a little bit of grades in some of the corners, we should say, after they redid the banking to suit the Formula 1 cars. But all of this
is based off the older one, isn't it?
It is, it surely is, as we're now jumping down into the what is this? This is the battle for 22nd, I believe. It's Partisan Mark van der Kraan. Martin van der Kraan at least. A good move there for the Porsche. Fun car to drive in the position as he moves up in the standings in this race. And looks like he's pulling the gap as we now go back to Dan Lensen, up into 17th position after we saw that shock start as... who was that? That must have been Van Schijk who pulled into the pits there. Didn't want to take that fight, opting to go for the early pit stop and make the undercut on most of the field, hoping that he can get out of clear air, which is a valid strategy on this track. That have helped me before here, getting out in clean air, taking the stop early and just overtaking when the pits go. It's here back into the battle for second. It's almost a freeway battle now between Spenkling, Vincent Wilczek and Clyde Barney. Now Clyde is all the way over Vincent for that third position, as Vincent will be probably looking further ahead at Sim Spenkling than he'll be looking in his rear view mirrors. But if they're not careful, then both Decoit and Dave Jr. will catch up to this battle as well and make it a real train behind Sim Spenkling. But maybe Sim is just driving slowly on purpose to help his teammate out, who's driving the 37 machinery in the lead of the race. Nard Cox, of course. Further down the field, Dennis Bergman here, just ahead of the Lexus of... Oh, I can't remember who's driving that Lexus, but that's the Belgian beer Lexus. It is Wouter Vince, of course it is. How can I forget? But it looks like there's some damage in the front of that Lexus as we see it going sliding a little bit there. It used to be one of the better cars in the wet conditions, but some BOP changes to the Lexus made it somewhat worse. Not that long ago, a year ago or two, as we speak, but... once again, it's a beautiful livery that he's running on that Lexus.
Yeah, it's going to be massive front damage on it though.
I like it when you can see the country flags of the drivers on the cars. We jump down for the battle for 10th position. Callum Morgan, one of the, well, I would say outside drivers, someone we know a little bit about in the championship. We have followed for endurance as well. Got ahead of Dealey there, but seems like he gave the position back voluntarily as there might have been contact. Patrick Renner in the pits. Interesting to see where he'll come out on track, if he'll get track position as we jump back to the train further up the field. Clyde Barney is now really putting the pressure on Vincent Wilczek as we see a Bentley off into the grass there. Nothing that worried the two drivers here. Clyde Barney looking for the inside-outside, just trying to get a look of where the track is, it looks like, going very right there, but trying to get the better exit. I don't think that will work from that far back, but we'll have to wait and see. As we see Frans van der Linde there, off into the wall, coming out the last corner. Ooh, he might have just dropped two wheels onto the grass and sent it into the wall there. If you have damage, then now this is going to be a long lap around to get back into the pits and get it repaired. Richardson making up some ground here, battling now with Jonas Palnas, also one of the drivers that we know a lot about, both of them actually. Normally we see them both further up the field. As Richardson now goes for the inside, looks like it was somewhat voluntarily given up there from Palnas, or a small driver's mistake could have been. Ooh, Vincent have been overtaken. Vincent is behind Clyde Barney now. I wonder what happened there. Interesting that he's now behind, as Decoit is now putting the pressure on Vincent. Ooh, that is not good for Vincent. He'll be furious losing out on that podium. I know this guy, he's a very fast driver, and he will be racing as hard as he can to get as good as a finishing position as possible. Well, all of us we will, as here we have the replay of what happened to Vincent Vilcek. Looks like Clyde Barney is quite far behind there. Oh, he loses it on the final corner. Touches the barrier, and oh, what a shame. Unfortunate mistake there. Couldn't keep it in the wet conditions, too much throttle. On the curb, could have been. As Clyde Barney slides through and takes on third position in this race now. They are still very close. Close fighting here, 15 minutes into the race almost. 13 and a half. You could round that up to 15, couldn't you? I guess we could.
Sorry. I thought you were still talking there. Sorry, one. Yeah, look, it's been an action-packed first 15 minutes so far. Looking forward to seeing what happens over the next 45 now at this stage.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage from Zandvorrt there. Onto the grass he goes, letting the other cars through as he'll rejoin the track as safe as he can. Good job on doing that, but ooh, that Aston Martin looks in rough shape now. He'll likely just take that one back into the pits. As Vincent Vilcek now following around. Now we jump back to Dave Jr. and Decoit now. Dave Jr. and Decoit, they have been up in each other's. I was just about to say asses, but I've been told by Chris that we can't swear on this channel. Up on each other's rears for the entirety of this race. They've been stuck together like mayonnaise and more mayonnaise. A perfect combo for these conditions. The mighty Labo, a little bit hard to control, but it seems like Dave is a very capable, well, we know Dave is a capable guy and he can control that car very well, but I would still probably prefer to be in that Aston. As they're coming up to a yellow flag now, the 78 car's parked on the inside there. That's Sam Pierce. Sam Pierce is off, and she also have damage on the car. It looks now dropping down to 32nd position. Oh, that was very close there, Patrick Villeneuve. 32nd position, 33rd it will be now for Sam. Very unfortunate. She will drop further down before she gets into the pits and gets that repaired. As we are now back to the battle for 10th position, Kyle Morgan and Nick Dealey. Very close together still. We have seen Morgan get through once, but had to give it back to Dealey. Due to good sportsmanship as they go behind the sign. Coming out still same position around the very important, almost hairpin-like turn at the top of the back straight. Now it's about who got on the power the best, who can keep the traction in these conditions, who will have the least wheel slip. Seems like they're both very equal as we come into the very tight right hand, as we see Sam Pierce parked on the outside there, giving room for the faster cars. Very good sportsmanship of Andrew Richardson up into 2nd position behind Ian van der Linden now. Looks like he's carrying a lot more speed than the Audi is. That shark looks hungry. Oh, maybe a little bit too hungry, as we saw that BMW McLaren in the wall there. A lot of cars seeming to be parking everywhere around the track. Frank Hobb also taking a small detour, as he have been off onto the grass. As Regan Mitchells is now pitting in the 69 machinery. Very nice car, very nice. Vincent Vilcek still 4th position, right in the tail of Clyde Barney. Both these drivers are pushing it to the limit. They both want to get further up the field, but they also trying to keep within their own skill level and try not to run out that famous talent, as there's a car parked on the outside there of the corner. No yellow flag for that it seems, but he is moving very slow. John Haag it is. He is parked up now. Will he just RTG, or yeah, he does the RTGs. John Haag basically out of the race now. I choose for the first time we see him in this race, as he goes very right. Very good driving there to keep it under control. When you have 2 wheels in that grass, it's not so nice. As he is now attempting the move on Ian van der Linden. Maybe there have been something there for Ian and Andrew Richardson. remember that Ike and Andrew, they have been teammates for a long time in the Green Moose racing team. We have seen them in endurance before together. Maybe there have been something there. Hard to say, as Ike is really looking hard for that move on Iron van der Linden here. Coming around the bank corner where we saw Alonso in the Formula 1 season last time, taking the high line, which worked out nice for him. Then Linson making a good comeback now, all the way up to 13th position, though there's a lot of people that have been pitting already. Early for the pitch, some would say. Ike still behind here, coming up through the sweeping corners. Up and down it goes into the corner. We've seen so many cars parked out on the gravel today. This evening in the grass as we come into another very difficult corner. This is where a lot of time can be gained and lost on this track. Normally it's just a small tap of the brakes and turn in, but in these conditions not so easy to do and keep the car under control. Very easy to lose the rear end there. The important hairpin now leading onto the back straight. This is where Ike want to be very close and get very early on the front. He will be risking it for the curb. It looks like no, he doesn't, but he is very early on the power here. Does he have enough to make the move? He is definitely looking up on the inside, coming on to that tight right hander. Oh, he does make the move. Ike choose ahead now of Iron van der Linden. Next up for Ike will be Andrew Richardson. And behind Iron van der Linden is Van der Kran now. Though quite a way down the road, Van der Kran is. Same goes for Andrew Richardson. Ike could find himself in a lonely position, as this is now the battle for... Oh, Kylo Morgan have gone through Nick Daly now. I wonder if we can find a replay of that somewhere in the archives. Kylo Morgan and Nick Daly have swapped places now. Morgan have seemed pretty fast around here. Every time we've seen them around here have been all the way up in the back of, as we see now, once it's in the pits to repair that mighty Lexus. Those flashing lights indicating the pit speed limits as we go back to 4th position, and Vincent Vilcek just trying to keep the focus. It looks like this is also a thing in these different cars with how the wires go. Something that distracts me when I have the single wire that just goes back and forward. I normally end up being too focused on that damn wire. I like the regular car style wires as we see in the Merc ahead, with 2 wires going in unison, but up and down. On the braking, Dave Jr. a little bit wider. Is that just a different line for him? He might just be looking for that exit speed out of the first corner. The S's of the first one's also very tricky, especially in these conditions. They're tricky in even the best of conditions, but in these conditions this must be dreadful to drive in these cars. Coming up through, over and down and over the crests of Zandvorrt. Beautiful beach track in the Netherlands, vacation spot for many. Good public transport, I do believe, have been mentioned before. Maybe not on SSRI, obviously. Good public transport for a virtual track will just be a good internet connection. As we now, for the first time in a long time, see pictures of Nart Cox just cruising away in the lead. 3.6 seconds, he could be doing donuts almost and maintain the lead. 20 minutes into the race, that's 1/3 of the race gone. Oh, big crash! Kylo Morgan is off, Nick Daly must be off as well. Abrinosa's off once again in that McLaren. Oh, people are coming in hot. And we see Miedemar also have gone off there. Many yellows up here. What in the ass have gone on here? I mean, what is going on here as they continue to go wide and off? One more car, it looks like. Yes! Wow. What caused this? A lot of damage on the front there. Sam Pierce is always also parked somewhere. She might be RTGing now. Well, she's parked looking turning the other way around. Actually, I don't think Sam Pierce will ever RTG. She's a fighter and will always keep driving, no matter what happens. That's a lot of damage on that BMW. The carnage have occurred. We did expect it to come in this track, but not this late. As Sam Pierce seems to be struggling to keep it on track. As now she might be RTGing as she is parked. She did, but likely to be right back on track later on in this race. As Dennis Bergman up into the magical 13th position here on the outside of Miedemar. Miedemar carrying a lot of damage, wondering if Miedemar will be driving into the pits at the end of this lap. This have definitely changed up the positions of some of that big crash, and we see a yellow coming on out to the start-finish straight. Maybe close to the pit entry. Ooh, that's a bad place to be parked. That's a 299 car. I can't remember who's driving that car, but we have seen it before. As Danish Workman now on the inside of Abrinosa. Well, that's not for position. I think Abrinosa is a lap down. Oh, he should be. He had that earlier pit stop as well. But continues with the damage that he have picked up this time around, as the 44 car is also caught. Here we have a replay now of the incident. What happened? Oh, it's Kyler Morgan spinning out, going onto the wall. We have seen this before, and just parks it. Can't do anything. He does the right thing and just stays and gives people a chance to get out, move around him. But then he's parked further out. Now he goes forward. Nothing really happens there. Maybe some people gets confused of the yellow flag, as this is not what you want to do, as the Lexus just goes wide off. And here we come with another Porsche. Looks like the Porsche could have maintained control there. Not a lot that happened around Morgan there. It looked like. Seems like people would just not be able to control their cars in the slippery conditions, causing a huge pile of yellow on the track map. As here Kyler Morgan now goes into the pit, but what a shame, he had such a good race so far. Up into virtual 10th position on sequence. Further up on track, of course, as Marius is now very far up the grid. Best placed AM driver at the minute, Marius Frederiksen. In another very beautiful car, that's Miedemar. Miedemar's parked in the wall. As the 81 car of, I think that's Palnas, is also parked up in the corner leading onto the back straight. Tim Marius still driving around that Honda. Impressive that he have kept control of that car for so long. Well, he might have had a few slides here and there that we haven't seen. Yeah, Palnas is the car that was parked further up, but doesn't look like he have damage. He might just have had a spin or a small tap on the side of the car that caused him to go around. As the Mercedes of someone who's in 16th position, that's Ike behind him. He's giving up the room for Ike, of course he is. Good sportsmanship of Johan there. A lot of people now. Andrew Richardson in the pit. He have been having a good race so far after his early mistake in the the first lap. I think we saw him drop very far back the field after a small spin. As here, Vincent Wilczek is now under heavy attack from Dave Jr. But what have happened to Van der Kran? Have he pitted or something? Dave Jr. now really applying the pressure to the Porsche head. Can he withstand this pressure, or will Dave Jr. maybe take a tactical stop now and take the undercut? Or right up the ass there, I mean rear. As they're coming down the start-finish straight, side by side, almost NASCAR-like formation over the start-finish line, even though there are only two cars. Who's late on the brakes? Who dares to go deepest? Who dares to go shallowest? Both cars going a little bit wide there. As Vincent gets the better run on the exit of the corner, taking back that third or fourth position in this race. Vincent defending very well there from Dave Jr. Dave really pushing it there to stay as close to Ike as possible, trying to force a mistake from Vincent. These Green Moose drivers confuse me. Staying as close to Vincent as possible, but he couldn't keep it up. A little bit too much of throttle input as Marius is now off. Now the Honda's off. Here we have the pictures. We were actually expecting to see this in the race. Driving that Honda in these conditions are so difficult. Such a shame for Tim Morris driving the infamous Dynamic Motorsports livery. That we have also seen, I think, Chris Hill, Simon Pike in variations of. Dan Lenz now on the outside of Dennis Workman. That's something that I would recommend trying. Around the first corner, but can work because there are the slide banking that will give you the drive on the outside or the exit of the corner. Now I'm just rambling on. I don't think that we have heard from my co-commentator for a long time. This reminds me a little bit of WTCC actually. Are you still there? Hello? No, I think I'm left alone. Almost, as we're still following Dan Lenson coming up now into the corner of death, it seems like in this race so far. Or at least the corner sends people to the Shadow Realm, which will be just right there on the gravel on the outside of the corner. Coming up here to well, there are many hairpins around this section of the track. One of them is this one. Linson made his way up into 13th, though a lot of people behind him have pitted. Interesting to see where Linson will come out when he pits. Back straight now, beautiful machinery, this Lamborghini. And that golden color seems so mythical almost. Yeah, now I'm actually all alone in the commentary box. Maybe I'm scaring off my co-commentators. Maybe I'm just speaking too much, hard to say. Not really much is changing at the minute in this race. This could be a good time to remind everyone that we have different championships as well. I think we have a Super Cup race coming up, Porsche Super Cup, as Stanley now drives into the pit. Interesting to see where he'll come out, as that will be a great indication of how good his race have actually been so far. Regan Mitchell here under pressure from Patrick Trevor as Trevor spins. No, that wasn't Trevor's, that was one of the Tic Tac cars. That could have been probably Pelnes, I think, and the 4-car Richardson seems to be off once again. Oh dearie me, Andrew Richardson, back to the garage he goes. Maybe he's retiring now as Johan Pals tries to rejoin the track. License still looked like it was almost beats there, that BMW. A little bit of a shortcut there to ensure that he doesn't go onto the racing line more than necessary when picking up the speed. He have had a rough race in that Tic Tac machinery. Not many people can have been around as much as him, or at least we have noticed being around as much as him in the last, actually only the last like 15 minutes, as he seems to be. Thought he was diving into the pits there, but maybe just moving out of the way of the faster cars, or the lapping cars it looks like. As Dave Jr., is that Dave Jr.'s Mercedes or Lambo ahead of Vincent? Looks like Dave have actually managed to make the move. Yeah, isn't that Dave's? Yeah, Dave have made the move. Dave is now past Vincent Vilcek, who have fallen like a fly in this race. Well, not actually, he's not that far back from where he started, but a few positions are still not what he was expecting after qualifying. Hard to say what will happen further on for these guys, as Dave is now on a mission. 1.9 seconds from Dave up to Clyde Barney. As Vincent is falling quite a bit behind now. Maybe it's the weight transfer of the Porsche, the weight shifting when the fuel tank empties, that's keeping him in trouble, or putting him in trouble in this one. This car must scare the crap out of him driving. I mean, the feces out of him driving. Of course, can't say anything but that. Because of the way that he will never know how the car will react in the corners. Although we could have a decent setup, hard to say. A lot of people in the pits now as we're coming on to the halfway point of the race in just 15 seconds. We're halfway done with this action-packed, thrilling season final of the SSRI GT3 Championship. Season 3, I do believe this is. Maybe even more, hard to keep a count on all these numbers. But gentle reminder that we do have other racing series, including the Porsche Super Cup, which is also coming to an end this week, I think. Yeah, I think it's Porsche week. Next week the GT4 Championship will be ending and the WTCC will be returning to the Slovakia ring. Penultimate round of that season, also very fun. We would like to see more people joining in on that, as we have the Slovakia ring and of course Macau left in that championship. Macau obviously being the one race that if you're a good driver you want to win there in the touring cars. Mighty prestige on the line there. Here we have Fredriksson coming out of the pits. Will he still be the aim? No, it looks like Aaron van der Linden have passed him after the pits. Now Aaron is leading, but Iron haven't pitted yet. Neither have Cohen Greens. Looks like Marius Fredriksson is the current on track, or well, on sequence leaders. Vincent gets a good slide on there. Good showing of Vincent's driving skills as he's driving around. Lamborghini behind. That is not the Lambo of Dave. No, that is Linson who's coming up. Linson who have pitted, I do believe. I think we saw him in earlier. There are mandatory pit stop in this race, and I do believe that you have to take tires in these 1-hour races in the SSRI, which might be the reason why we see Dan Linson having so much speed at the moment. He's really keeping up with Vincent Vilcek. Almost putting him under pressure, some would say, as we have the 199 of some probably Eastern European or Southeastern European driver. Partes, I will just go with Partes. Partes seems close to correct in this one. I'm looking at something here. We have a beautiful car. This is Zandvorrt coming out of the pits. Wouter Blitzmer coming out the pits in the 669 car crossing the broken up white lines. Someone not good at the... no, can't say that's something with white powder on the stream. Lining that up and stuff. Anyways, Clyde Barney here on the inside of the McLaren BMW F1 inspired race machinery. Further back after the update, we have seen the car numbers on the back of the cars going from being white to pink if you have a keen eye. You can actually spot it on these cars. A little bit hard to see, but they have changed. Small details make all of the action, as we now see Denise Pope, who is just 2 cars ahead of Mike Abranosa, who's the next car for position behind her. In 23rd position at the minute. I do believe she's currently the best female driver on the grid. I do like the livery of those Wild Things liveries. Oh, right, Wild Things racing liveries, of course. A true classic to this community. We've seen them for so many seasons. They don't change a lot, but there are some small details that, if you look on their older cars, that they will change about on the cars. Dan Linsen here with that Honda side by side. That's for position. The Honda and the Lambo is for position here. Dan Linsen and Blitzmer, 2 different classes of drivers, at least regarding the classification of them, but maybe not on track. It looks like that Blitzmer got left in the dirt there out of the double, or the 90-degree, followed by the hairpin onto the start-finish straight with that gold Lamborghini, probably showcasing something that he wants to have next season, as Vincent Vilcek comes into the pit. As we have a car spot, that's Aaron van der Linden. Hope he made it across the pit line, or else that will have been disgusting for Vincent's race. But Vincent Vilcek pitting in from 4th position on track. I think that will be 5th on sequence, maybe 6th. Nikolaj Schröder also in the pits from 5th position, though he is quite far behind Vincent on the track. I think about 12-15 seconds. Tim Murray is still out on track driving around, and now he takes 4th position. He inherits 4th position after the other cars going into the pits. I was just about to say you have Dealey behind him, but he also pitted. I think that's the 299 car ahead of him. The Audi, it looks like. I can't remember who's driving that Audi. I was just about to say Frederiksen, but it's not him. It's a different car. Here we have a replay of what happened on the pit entry. Car going slow. Vincent coming up. Vincent taps the other guy. Vincent taps Iron there. That could give Vincent a penalty after this race. Not the most optimum, but it could also just be Iron slowing down a little bit too much there on pit entry. Hard to say. The stewards will probably have a look on that later on. If Vincent thinks that it's the other guy's fault, then Vincent will likely report it. We know that Iron is also not that shy of reporting incidents himself. But that could have had consequences for Vincent. Either he's driving around now with damage, or he had to take an extra long pit stop to get that damage fixed. I think he took the extra long pit stop as he is 10 seconds almost behind Dave Jr. and Nikolaj Schröder have made up a few seconds on him as well, as he's lapping there the 212 car. Another Belgium-inspired livery we saw there. Vincent Vilcek come around. Dan Linsen now. This is for position, though Van der Gran haven't pitted yet. But can we see Dan Linsen on much fresher tires make short progress of the McLaren around these corners? He's taking the line that gives him the exit speed, but is it enough to make a move on a McLaren down this back straight? It looks like it, as Van der Gran had a little bit of a slide down the front, but it is hard to make overtakes in this area of the track, but you can't force mistakes. And if he is brave enough, he'll put it up the inside. He obviously chooses to pull out of it, as you would also do with... God damn it, I can't say these things on this stream. Something that happens in the red light district. No more shall be said about that. Dan Linsen made the overtake there on Van der Gran. Coming around, as Van der Gran seems to be under pressure now from the Honda of Blitzmer, as well as Werkman also looks to be around this place on track. Van der Gran there now a little bit of a train driver here have become. As we can see, it's definitely Blitzmer behind, and Werkman is one of them as well. And I think that's Frank Hopp in the Ferrari behind them following that. both Frank Hobb and Dennis Bergman and the Ferraris behind here. That's quite interesting. But when will Van der Graan make the pit stop? This is a freeway battle for... I'm not entirely sure where this will be after the pit stops on track, but I think this will be for 11th position. This freeway battle, as we see here, the Honda going onto the gravel. One of the Ferraris makes a move, the other Ferrari gets a better drive, but can he keep it? It's hard to keep the traction on the inside of that corner. I'm speaking of experience here. Dennis Bergman now in 12th position as Frank Hobb in 14th. Both Ferraris sandwich around as Frank Hobb sets it up the inside of turn 1. The Tarzan corner, he's not going for the Tarzan line though. As Blitzmark gets stuck, put into that. Back marker traffic, it looks like, with the Mercedes giving up a good amount of space there for the faster drivers coming through. I think Van der Graan is just out there enjoying himself, being out in a battle on track. It was Steve Parker we saw there being good sportsman. Something also worth noting, of course. As Zandvorrt here, is that a battle with Ike Juice? That is a battle with Ike and Ike. Ooh, that Mercedes doesn't look right with that hood. Continues straight on, does Ike onto the gravel, he went. Dennis Bergman under extreme pressure from Frank Hobb here. It seems like the two Ferraris are really stuck into this one. Close fighting here. Almost 2/3 into the race now. As we go from the roof cam, looking back from Dennis Bergman's Ferrari, it's still the older generation these guys are using. The next generation of Ferrari, the 2-something will be seen next season. Probably in some fun events that we are likely to have during the summer break. Ooh, slight contact there between Dennis Bergman and Van der Graan. I think Van der Graan will be taking the pit stop this time around. It would make sense for him. Unless if he's banking on drier conditions later on, as Nart Cox pits in. Nart Cox goes in from the lead. Interesting to see if his teammate Spinkelink will follow him in. He didn't. Sim Spinkelink now inherits the lead. Spinkelink leads the race now, but Nart Cox will retake that position once Sim Spinkelink have pitted, of course. Tim Marius also stays out on track and will inherit second position for a brief time in the Honda, as we now see Van der Graan coming into the pit. As expected, he would come in now. Not much to stay out on track for anymore of him. Fresh tires will make a huge difference in these conditions. And Dave Jr. have caught up to Clyde Barney now. I was sort of expecting this to happen, as we saw Junior having so much speed. As we have a camera now here in the bottom right hand of Nart Cox exiting the pit lane in 5th position. Good track position. Looks like that Nart is getting, or will someone sneak ahead of him? No, it looks like that he have gotten some decent track position there. Just about for Nart Cox. Brilliant place to come out. What a strategic call from the Dark Sky Racing crew to pull him in there. Nart Cox actually comes out in 2nd position as Tim Marius didn't make it through. It looks like our team is further up the field. It's just our timing boards that haven't updated on the left there. As here we see him as Ike chooses off once again. So is Franz van der Linden. He will be yelling at himself there, Franz. And Ike is reversing once again. Looked like he was going onto the track, but reversed back onto the gravel. Staying on the inside AstroTurf and those horrible sausage curbs there. Not a good race from Ike this time around. Normally he is a lot better in the wet. Still yellow flags out on track. Now they turned green. Everything seems clear now. Tim Marius driving around. He's enjoying that P2. A lot of TV time for the Dynamic Motorsports car. As Sim Spinkelink now comes into the pits, he is not likely to have as good track position as he rejoins the track as his teammate Nart Cox had. As Dave Jr. is now on the inside of Clyde Barney. Oh, very close. This could be trouble. He have to bail out of that one. Doesn't get the drive since he have to turn right just before the entry of the corner. But will that Lambo power be enough to outmatch the Merc, the mighty Merc? I don't think so, not from this far behind. Remember, these guys, they have pitted. They are on the tires, so they'll be running to the end of this race. As Nart Cox is now coming to the start-finish line, and Sim Spinkelink is still parked in the pits. Not something that we wasn't expecting at this point. Nart Cox now coming into the first corner. Now we can start counting the seconds until we see Sim Spinkelink coming out. He is down from the Jackson. Away Sim Spinkelink goes. But where will he emerge? Will he be leading the non-pitters? He's not going to be by a lot. We can see on the track map there how close they're going to be behind with Clyde Barney and Dave Jr. They're only just coming around that first corner. Now that's the cars we saw there. Now we're following Dave Jr. and Clyde Barney and their battle. Only a few corners behind Sim Spenkling. We can't trust the relatives just yet up there. It looks like, but this will happen as they cross the first split on the track coming up. After a few, they go over the first crest, then they go down through some corners, and as they approach the second crest, they will be having the split, and we can see the difference between Sim Spenkling and Clyde Barney. 3.9 seconds are the difference between these two guys. Remember, this battle we see here between Dave Jr. and Clyde Barney will actually be the battle for third position and final on the podium once the Tim Morris, who's currently leading the race in that Honda, have pitted in. Around the hairpins we go. Interesting signage around this track, telling drivers the upcoming corners. Not that you have time to pay attention to that when driving. Might be handy for new drivers coming in doing track days around here. As we go into the inside of the car of Dave Jr., you can just see out of that windscreen how little you can actually see when driving in these conditions. When you're in the spray of the car ahead, you can't even see when they're braking. Very difficult conditions to drive in. Sometimes that rain light can maybe be a little bit more distracting than actually helping. Around here, Tim Marius takes another lap in the lead, just maybe clapping himself on the shoulders a little bit there as he goes around. Just showing off that he's a man who can lead races. If the other guys have pitted, he haven't. No disrespect of Tim Marius driving, of course. He would have been up there in the fight for maybe around where we see Vincent Vilcek at the minute if he hadn't had his spin early on in the race. Though, big respect for the guys driving the Honda in these conditions. Very difficult, very hard to drive. As Dominic is asking in the chat, what is this rain? And hi Dominic, as you can see, I've actually scared away a co-commentator this time around from the commentary box. Normally you can stick around for these sort of things, but it did become enough from my good friend Carlo Malone. Although I did definitely pronounce that wrong. Anyways, Frank Hopp we follow here. P14. Also P14 on track. I only think it's Tim Morris that haven't pitted yet. The rest of the field have been into the pits. Short yellows we saw there's Tim Morris. Now we see him coming into the tight right-hander, coming into the hairpin. Oh well, the tight hairpin after the right-hander, after the back straight. Yes, that's how you say that. As Zandvorrt now is behind Nilsson Abrenosa. Nilsson does seem to be having a little bit of trouble as he goes onto the Shadow Realm, or the gravel that's now known as the Shadow Realm. Coming back on track, a little bit defensive there, not much he could do there. Not, yeah, they must have been in a fight for position, looks like. But still a beautiful car, that Team Abbey Racing livery we see here. Resemblance of the old McLarens, or not old, as we see Frank Hopp off in the Tarzan corner. Frank Hopp is off in the Tarzan corner. That's a pity, he was driving so well early in the race. I do believe that there's a fun story why it's called the Tarzan corner. Something about someone who didn't want to sell his house, locally known as Tarzan or something like that. Go Google it if you want the story. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it. Mostly because I can't remember. Oh, it's such a shame from Frank Hopp. Bouncer Vince coming around second position in the AM class, only behind Frederiksen, who have been doing well, but he is stuck behind Nilsson Abrenosa now. Though Nilsson does have damage that will hinder his top speed and his cornering performance and everything else. Looks like he's trying the outside line here as Nilsson goes early on the brakes. No, he doesn't. It looked like Nilsson was early on the brakes, but he wasn't really. Both cars keeping it nicely under control, but now Wouter Vince is coming on. Keeping the inside line there, now tapping the inside for this important corner as they're very close to contact. Vince and Abrenosa in the fights, coming around here. He could have tried a different line. It is not the best place to get the run. Coming onto this very fast piece of track, at least in the dry and the wet. You might want to lift some places. Interesting to see what he will do at the end, if he'll go for the hero scent or scent of the century, or if he'll just stay behind. He looks like he's staying behind, not close enough to do anything there. Now coming into the fast right-hander, where you can really win and lose a lot of time depending on how well you take it. Looks okay from this angle. Could have been a little bit wider there. Not sure you want to do that in the wet though. Abrenosa is pulling a little bit away as we now jump back to Dave Jr. and Clyde Barney still fighting. And Tim Marius stays out on track so far. He's enjoying that. Maybe he'll wait for the final lap just to bother us in the commentary booth, not knowing where he'll finish the race. Dave Jr. went a little bit wide there, coming out of the final corner. Through the Tarzan corner he went. Still a good looking car, the Lamborghini. Horrible strive, but good looking. As we are coming into this slightly less banked hairpin from what we see in Formula 1 or in modern days of racing. Looks like Clyde have this one quite under control. He can deny the attacks. You need to be really fast to hope for a mistake if you want to make a move around this track. It's not so easy just to make the move, as there's a yellow flag where they're coming up now, or now it's just slow car. Yellow flag once again. It's the 16.5 car. That's Frans van der Linden, I think. They did note and take good evasive action. And two drivers, yes, it was France. As Vincent is now the car coming up behind. He could be held up a little bit behind, but France is a little bit... Oh, sorry. Vincent is a little bit in no man's land regarding positions around him. Oh, that doesn't look good for the McLaren. He also went off in the Shadow Realm corner, it looked like. Yeah, Wilczek is just driving around, cruising now. Must be so disappointed after such a good qualifying from him. He have Nikolaj Schröder behind him, but there's quite a gap down there. Not many cars being super close on track at the minute. As here we go, Nart Cox have now caught up to Tim Marius, even though the Tim haven't been into the pits yet. This might be short process from Nart Cox being on much fresher wet tires than Tim. Tim's tires have been lasting for what, like 50 minutes at this point. Although you can definitely make the tires last for much longer if you want to, but new tires does make a difference in these conditions. On board Nart Cox we go. You can really see how he's gaining in these corners where you really need the grip from the tires coming into the Shadow Realm corner. Are Tim scared enough that... Ooh, looked like he had a little bit of slide there. As Nart gets really close now, will Tim defend this? Will Tim try and defend it and keep the lead for as long as possible? No, he lets go. He lets Nart go through. Nart Cox back in the lead of the race. A position that he have held almost all. Ooh, as we see a little bit of a showboat drift there from Nart Cox. Might not have been on purpose, but looked good on the cameras. Controlling the race almost from start to finish. A little bit of a fight in the very first lap of the race. He still had to get away from the start. What a drive we've seen from Nart Cox. Now, I didn't pay enough attention to the championship beforehand, so please do remind me in the YouTube chat where he is placed currently. I think he is leading, or might be, as we are here with Abrinosa still, and we have Frank up. Oh, not Frank again. Deary me. Oh, Frank, oh, Frank. Back onto the track. You can actually beat the car on that curve if you're not careful. Frank up now 14th position, but he is a bit lucky that he is not further down. He might have lost one position in that or two. Hard to say. We need to look on the track map or wait for him to pass the next sector time, as Bouncer Vince is now back behind Nilsson Abrinosa. 15 minutes to go, 1/4. Now I'm watching freaking YouTube again. On board founder Vin. Now still freaking YouTube. Why can't I find the correct? Here we are. Sorry about that. I did that in the WTCC last Thursday as well. Here we are live following Frank Howe, and my commentary will now be on the actual things going on in the race that you can see are not delayed. Jonas Parnell's in the wall again. The wall and Parnell seems to be the two mayonnaises of this race, going together like, well, the two of them. But he does keeps fighting, as we also saw him do at Donington. Being far behind. Not easy to drive the car with that much damage. But with 8 minutes 40 seconds to go, what will he do? Pull into the pits and get repairs, or try to continue driving the car like this? What do you guys think?
Well, it's hard to say really, but we can probably see once he passes through
the entry to the pit lane. Ah, that's right. Anyways, Zandvorrt now. 19th position. Also a man who's been in some difficult situations, as he's fighting Denise Pope. for 18th in this race. 2 of the cars with the numbers in the 70s. Partners did choose to go for the pit stop and get that repaired. Looks like a little bit of body work that needs to happen there. Frank Hop behind the passes as well. A lot of battling going on the track as we see. Probably the lead now. That's Tim Spenkeling ahead of them. They have just let him past. As Frank Hop will be looking to make a move. No, he's staying behind. Staying put, maybe he's just playing this one smart. It doesn't need to make the move in this race, but of course you want to make the move as a race car driver. Dan Lensen in 10th position. What a comeback from Dan Lensen after the early incident with him. Behind Nick Dealey now. Shame that we saw his mayonnaise Morgan fall out in the race, having that small incident that caused a concertina effect of cars crashing out. Dan Lensen, can he get this move made and get up into 9th position? The comeback to top 10 was pretty good for him, have been pretty good for him. Can happen easy here. We have seen a lot of cars that have basically handed him the position for free by virtue of spinning out. But what a drive. He might be, if not Nart Cox, who have been almost perfect throughout this race, and Lensen have been amazing to follow. Really putting on a good show here in the final round of the SSRI GT3 Championship Season 3. First time we have the combined. Oh, Lensen goes wide there onto the grass he went. There he will lose a little bit of that, but still 6.5 minutes to go. I don't think that they will be catching up to Regan Mitchells as Frederiksen is off. This could end up having impact. Oh, he's too far ahead of the guys he's fighting. This could have impacted his chance of winning the race. As we have a slow move. That's Adam Luck. Is he out of fuel? Oh no, dear me, he's going slow. No, he's back up to speed now. Not a fuel issue then. Could just have been off. Adam Luck in the Quantum Mars Motorsports machinery, the Bentley, the Boatley, the Mighty Boat in these conditions. Shame he wasn't named Noah, so we could have called it the Ark. Dan Lensen have caught back up to Nick Dealey here. Looks like Dan is much faster than Nick, but he just can't make the move. It is hard to overtake around this track if Nick can keep to the racing lines, as Denise Pope is causing the yellow flag now. Oh, Vert and Pope have definitely had some kind of contact there. Issues. Denise trying to spin the car around, but hits the wall. Denise gets through Vivard. Vivard seems to let Pope pass as he spins it, trying to rejoin the track. Might have been a gesture of sportsmanship there from Vivard, letting Denise go through, as Vivard could have caused that. As Lensen is now side by side with Nick Dealey. He does have the outside, which is not what you want, but Dealey goes a little bit deep. Continues out on the outside, trying to switch back, but Dealey closes it off. Coming onto the penultimate corner now. Dan Lensen now is showing himself on the inside. Will Dealey leave from the room? No, he falls back into line. Dan Lensen still can't make the move on Nick Dealey. Great defensive drive from Nick Dealey so far in this race. We also saw it with Kyler Morgan early on. But this time it might not be possible for him to defend this. Dan Lensen gets a better run. He moves to the outside. Nick Dealey forced to take the long way around Tarzan corner. Dan Lensen just have to get it stopped on the apex, but looks like he goes a little bit wide there. Dan Lensen overshoots the first corner. He had the position almost secured as he goes wide. Nick Dealey continues to defend like a champion. Great drive from Nick Dealey in the 2027 machinery. Yes, I have to say Nick Dealey a lot. Here we have a replay of what happened between Denise Pope and Vivard. Vivard, good far way back as he goes to the inside, just breaks way too late. He even tries to avoid and turn out of it, but he just clips the back of Denise and then finishes the job with an extra tap, of course. It looks like the two cars are mating there a little bit. Dirty stuff for the cameras. Now Dan Lensen, he's almost always... Oh, no. Tim Norris waits so long for the pit stop, and now gets himself a stop-go 30 for speeding in the pits. No, Tim, no, what are you doing, mate? Ah, what a shame. He was doing so well in this race. Controlling that Honda, he's falling now. We can see his actual position in just a few turns, but I don't think he'll drop further back than 6th position. Well, until he saves to stop and go 30, of course, then he'll jump way back. Such a shame. Nart Cox is still controlling the race from the lead. 15-second gap to Tim Spenkeling at the minute. He can just put it in cruise control now and let it glide home. Partes here, 14th position. Dan Lenz now on the back of Nick Dealey again. Can Dan Lenz make the move this time around? Same place as before we're on to, but Nick Dealey gets some slipstream off the back marker ahead. Now Lenz shows himself on the inside, moves back into the slipstream, not making it this time around. A little bit dangerous also if a car so close up ahead as Nick Dealey this time makes a mistake. Dan Lenz forces that mistake almost from Nick Dealey. Such a shame from Dealey. I really wanted him to have that position after such a great defensive drive throughout the race. Dave Jr. in 4th position, trying to catch back up to Clyde Barney. Have lost out a tiny little bit over the last couple of minutes, though we are talking in the 10th of a second. Still within the 1 second on the car ahead. Tim Morris, will he be saving the stop go 30 this time around? No, he continues taking next time. He almost have to. Such a shame from Tim, and he actually haven't served his pit stop yet it didn't count as a pit stop. He might have forgot to change tires in the pits. Oh no, he'll be disqualified from this race. You have to save a stop go 30 and take new tires. What a tactical mistake from Tim. Truly a tactical mistake from the Dynamic Motorsports guys. Almost as if Chris Hill was directing his race from the pit. Not optimum. Not optimum. Damn. Oh, I can see in the YouTube chat that people are saying it was because of a pit stop that wasn't valid or something. But you don't get the penalty just because you don't take tires, then you just have to come in once again to do so. It must have been speeding severely in the pits to get the stop go 30. But still, you have to save the penalty and take tires the lap after it. I'm not that sure that he'll have the time to do that as Nart Cox here comes around, though. He will take the white flag this time around, surely he will. 1 minute to go in the race, white flag will come out now, I think. Well, it is definitely out. This will be the final lap from Nart Cox and everyone crossing the line after him. And if he laps people, their last lap as well. Sim Spenkeling in 2nd position. That will be a 1-2 from Dark Sky Racing. Seems like they had the best wet setup this time around. Dave Jr. and Clyde Barney in 3rd and 4th. Marius Frederiksen leading the AM class. Decent jump from him. Tim Marius was actually leading the Silver Cup, but he'll jump way down, and Dealey will actually win the Silver Cup around this track. Interesting, and still pretty good job from him. Maybe he knew that the penalty would occur for Tim Marius and just didn't want to risk anything fighting Dan Lenz there. A nice machine with Dealey here we have. Soon to be leader of the Silver class in this race, the NRD racing team. Unfortunately, we don't have his livery loaded, though the black cars also look quite nice in these conditions on ACC, of course. Tim Marius, I don't think he's going to save the penalty or get that stop done. Interesting to see what the game will do to him after this race. I do think it will either be a very severe time penalty or DSQ. I think DSQ is most likely to have it from a coding point of view, though I don't know crap about feces about computers. Clyde Barney, Nart Cox now. 2 corners to go from Nart Cox. Looking at his virtual driver here, very steady, especially in the upper body of this guy. Keeping it so cool. The feet are not moving that much either. Here we go, across the line we go. Checkered flag for the final time this season. Nart Cox takes the flag, takes the win. And I do believe he takes the championship as well, as he's showboating a little bit. Coming off there, keeping control of the car. Of course, the Sim Spenkeling will be the next guy to take it. And spins out for a good measure, destroys the car as you should when the season is over. Sim Spenkeling finishes 2nd, Clyde Barney 3rd, Dave Jr. confirmed 4th. Vincent Wilczek, disappointing 5th position. Though he can be happy with how he drove the car. Good job keeping it under control, also showboating, celebrating it's the end of the season. Tim Marius have been disqualified, it looks like, as Nikolaj Schröder will be the next car to cross the line and take a position. Following him around here in 7th position. Fellow Danish driver, good job from you, Nikolaj, good job. Actually 6th position. 6th position, of course, for Nikolaj Schröder. Regan Mitchell seems to be coming in as the top hunter this time around in the 69 machinery. Normally that's a number that that's reserved for Aaron Fedoran or Anthony Torst. I can't remember who. Dan Linson, 8th position after all this. Narcock still showboating around the track. Seems like a little bit of a formation drive now from the Dark Sky guys. No, Nart is just showcasing his mighty talents and how not to drive a car. Unless if you're the champion, of course, then you can do whatever you want to. No one will stop you. Here we go, Dan Linson now comes across to take the checkered flag. Only a few cars needs to take it now before the race is all over and the season is completely done. Iron van der Linden and Cohen Green, I believe, are the 2 last drivers to take the line. They are actually fighting for position, half a second between them. As they actually have not crossed the line yet, but results might have been confirmed now. I didn't get a screenshot of that, so I have no clue on how it actually ended. Except for Nart Cox obviously winning the race. Decent race, good job this time around. From all of the drivers this season, it's been an up and down all season for these drivers. Interesting all the way through from start to finish. A lot of good battles we have seen, interesting incidents, surprise results, everything has happened this season. Truly amazing. Good job from all the drivers. People are just calming down a little bit around. We are waiting for people in the interview room, as I do believe that we have the AM class winner from today waiting, if we can somehow drag him in. I have no idea how to do that. As here we go. Goddag, Frederiksen. Hello. Congratulations on winning the AM class today. In what be dreadful conditions out there. Tell us a little bit about how your race went.
It was pretty well. I had a good pace, but I get some dirty area behind some back markers, and I crashed, and I think I got like 20 seconds of damage. If not, it will maybe go better, but you never know. I'm just happy that I secured a P2 in the AM Championship today.
I actually have no idea. I was drafted in to do this race just 5 minutes before it started, so I didn't have time to look up anything.
Yeah.
But if so, then congratulations on finishing so high up in the championship.
Yeah, thank you.
As we have a bunch of other people also waiting to come in for this interview, as we are now joined by Nart Cox and Sem Spenkling as well, the 2 Dark Sky racing drivers. And Clyde Barney, the entire podium, have joined us in this small shed, getting a little bit crowded now, I think. But hello guys, and congratulations on your podiums and wins and whatever.
Thank you.
Let's start with Nart. Your race seemed to be, quite an easy one. You looked like you were controlling the race from start to finish. Was that also how you felt it?
Yeah. At the start, I don't know what happened, but Wilczek was quite far back, so yeah, I just jumped him at the start immediately, and then I was able to build a gap, and then just basically keep it steady, keep it on the road, avoid back markers, and then it was quite a controllable race.
Were you putting cruise control on at the end of the race, or were you scared that a back marker would take you?
No, yeah. I was quite close, and then I saw those 2 guys in front fighting, and I was like, okay, let's give him another lap to battle it out. So I just fell back a bit and let them battle it out.
Yeah, I actually don't know how the championship looks, but I have been calling you the champion throughout this race, because last time I checked was a few rounds ago and you were leading back then. Do you know if you have become champion
Yeah,
yet?
I think, so I know I was in front, and Luca had to, he wasn't here today. So yeah, that basically already made me the champion, I guess, before the race start, but still wanted to finish it in style, obviously.
That's a very calm champion. We might get back to that later, as we also have 2nd place in this race, Sem Spenkling, in this very small shed. 1-2 from Dark Sky Racing. Your race wasn't as easy at Narts, it looked like. Can you put a few words on how the conditions were and your overall experience of this race?
Yeah, I think it was pretty wet and tricky. Especially when I was behind Wilczek at the start of the race. I mean, the spray definitely made things horrible. So kudos to everyone also further back in the field who probably had it way worse. Yeah, I think it was really wet, but actually it seemed rather drivable for me in terms of what I know from these flooded kind of rains. It can be much worse. I think the car was definitely controllable, not too bad, and I think to bring home the 1-2 for the team, it's nice to have that once again. And of course, congratulations to Nart. He did amazing the entire championships. No fuck ups this time, like spinning out on the formation lap, so he deserved it.
Small win.
Yeah, 1-2 for the team as we also have Clyde Barney in this small shed. Third place in this race, a lot of battling for you throughout the race. We also saw it getting close there with, now I can't remember, Dave Jr. throughout actually half of the race after you both got through Vincent, who fell back in the race a little bit. How was your experience of this race, and was it difficult to make the overtakes around here?
I mean, the start already was quite tricky because the Honda in front of me was quite far back. So I actually went side by side, I think, with the Honda and the S next to me. So it was just free wide going into turn 1. Luckily, we somehow managed to avoid each other. So that was quite good. Then, I mean, for P3, Wilczek made a small error. So it was quite easy to get past Biden. But once I got past, unfortunately, there was a backmarker who spun and then forgot to hold his brakes. And yeah, when that's at the middle of the fastest corner of the track, I hit him. So that also caused like a 10-second damage, but somehow that made the car a bit more drivable, surprisingly. So I could push a bit more afterwards. And yeah, first stint maybe a bit more of a struggle, but the second stint the pace was actually quite good. I mean, Dave was also quite quick as well because we were both catching Sam towards the end as well. But yeah, a bit unlucky that there was only so few laps, a bit more, and maybe it would have been a freeway battle. But still, also congrats to Narts for the win in the championship. He's driven great, and yeah.
Just before we let you go, Clyde, I have a few questions about the Merc. Well, I'm about to obviously drive the Merc next time around we go endurance racing. But do you have any tricks apart from getting damage to the car for wet conditions?
I mean, luckily now at least the car's reworked, so the aggressive default is also updated, so that will help. I mean, other tips what I can give you. Setup-wise or just drivability-wise? I mean, I haven't driven it in the dry yet, so it's tough to tell.
Keep it short, we are live.
Yeah, just put the brake bias a bit down, it's way too far forwards. I'd say TC6 if you want to keep it safe, I think that should be fine, and yeah. Other than that, I think you can make a quite nice setup that's drivable. You can also attack curbs quite a lot, so just do that.
Nice, thank you. We're heading into the off-season question for everyone here in the shed, including you, Frederiksen. We have a few rounds left of the WTCC Championship. Will we see any of you trying for that? We'll be racing the Slovakia Ring and, of course, the very, very special Macau Street Circuit.
Yes!
Yes! Woohoo, Sam! Sam, you're the man!
Awkward silence.
People are like, what is he talking about? Yes, here on SSRI we are running a race room championship with the touring cars. 2 race days remaining. 4 races in total. Interesting to see what will happen in these races, and you can even probably pay off Sim to that we'll be running the almost tri-oval configuration of the Autodrome the Slovakia Ring, of course. We did the other one last time.
Yeah, the other Czech track.
Yes, the other Czech track. Have to remember that. That was a good one. Anyways, anyone who can and are available for Macau, which have been moved to the 7th round after some difficulties with servers or something, I don't know. Probably. That will be an interesting round, and that will be the one. If you win that, then the championship doesn't really matter. That's like the Monaco of touring cars, basically. And yes, you can race opals and ladders and whatever you like. Open for all. Quick questions before we go. What are your plans for next season? Are you racing next season as well? All of you?
Definitely.
Yeah, most probably.
No, probably. Any thoughts on cars so far for next season? There have been some spicy ones in DLCs, of course, that could be BOP'd before.
Depends on the track selection, I guess. But we'll see. I mean, it's still early days with trying to explore setups and whatnot, and what car drives nice and which one doesn't. I think it's more about okay, which one has really good force feedback rather than necessarily which is outright the fastest car.
I have been falling in love with the 9 and 2 already. We will see.
We sure will. Yeah, have the new force feedback changes to the game made any changes for your driving styles in particular? Question for all of you.
For me personally, it felt more or less the same. So I have only driven this car in Zandvorrt in the wet, so I haven't experienced any other tracks or cars or weather. But yeah, for this car track, weather combination felt okay. Felt more or less the same.
It seems like there's a bit of more of a dead zone in the middle, so when you turn you don't have a feeling initially, even let's say if you run it on lower toes. But if I can give any tip if someone is still struggling out there, I mean lower the damper setting in ACC, because that seems to help and makes it way less worse than it was before.
How far do you say that? Then I'll just go change mine.
Yeah, I mean I had the damper setting on 10% and I put it on 0. And yeah, it feels, let's say, now more or less similar. I mean, there's still a bit of a dead zone, but now it's just way smaller.
Okay, thank you all. I think we're about to close down this broadcast for this. Congratulations on the championship, Nard, and everyone else watching. Before we go, anything you want to say before we leave?
Till next season.
See you next season. These will be the words from the third season of the SSRI GT3 Championship. Have a good one. Have a good summer, everyone, and I'll see you all on the other side.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.